Okay, gotta admit, when I hear audit, I kind of picture, those guys in suits going through receipts and finding every little mistake. Not really a fun image, is it?
Yeah, I can see that.
But what if I told you there's another type of audit? One that could actually be like your secret weapon to make your business stronger.
We're talking about internal audits, right?
Right.
They do have a bit of a, image problem, but really they're more about opportunity than just scrutiny.
Opportunity. Huh. Okay, I like where this is going. So for this deep dive, you brought some research on how entrepreneurs can actually use these internal audits to their advantage.
Exactly. And it's even more relevant now than ever before when you think about it.
Right.
Yeah. Think about the world we're all working in now, right? Tech disruptions are happening all the time. Competition's coming from every corner of the globe.
Yeah.
And just keeping up with regulations alone feels like a full-time job these days.
Oh, tell me about it. And then on top of all of that, customers, they just have these sky-high expectations.
Yeah.
Sometimes it feels like everything's changing all the time,
No, it really does. It's in this kind of environment that internal audits become, well, less of a nice to have and more of a, I'd say, a survival skill.
Okay.
They're like a compass and a flashlight.
A compass and a flashlight.
Yeah, helping you navigate the chaos and spot the potential problems before they become huge problems.
Okay, so like a health check for your business, but one that helps you do more than just survive. You thrive.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's break those benefits down a little bit more.
Sure. Let's start with risk management.
Okay.
Running a business, it always involved risks. That's just a given.
Of course. Yeah.
But an internal audit can help you pinpoint those risks, whether they're financial, operational, or even cybersecurity risks. You can pinpoint them before they turn into full-blown disasters.
So like an early warning system.
Yeah, yeah.
For my business, can you give me an example? Like something concrete that an entrepreneur, like me could relate to.
Sure. Imagine you're a startup founder. You're totally laser focused on growing that customer base, right?
Of course. Yep.
You've got marketing campaigns running, new product development. It's all go, go, go. But what you don't realize is there's this tiny error in your payment processing system.
Oh, no.
Every time a customer makes a purchase, you're losing a small percentage of that revenue. It's this slow bleed, but over time, it could really hurt your cash flow.
Ouch. Yeah. I can see how that would add up quick.
Exactly. Now, an internal audit could catch that error early on.
Okay.
Think of it like a financial x-ray.
Okay.
It reveals those hidden problems before they cause any major damage.
So it's not just about catching mistakes. It's about preventing them
Exactly.
in the first place.
Yeah. And that sense of security, it extends to regulatory compliance as well.
Yeah.
Depending on your industry, you might have a whole bunch of regulations to follow. It can feel really overwhelming, especially when you're wearing so many hats as an entrepreneur.
Oh, don't even get me started on compliance. You have to do it, but sometimes it feels like walking through a minefield.
It really can.
How can internal audits help with that?
Well, think of an internal audit like a compliance GPS,
Okay.
It helps you stay on track, make sure you're meeting those requirements, all the necessary ones. Avoid those legal headaches.
So less, oh, I think we messed up, and more like, we've got this, bring on the regulations.
Exactly. And that peace of mind, it's so valuable, especially for entrepreneurs who are already juggling a million things. It frees up mental bandwidth to focus on what you do best growing your business.
I like the sound of that.
No.
Okay, so we've covered risk management and compliance.
Mm.
What other benefits are we missing?
Well, let's talk about operational efficiency.
Okay.
It's all about making your business run smoothly, like a well-oiled machine.
Okay, I like that.
An internal audit can identify bottlenecks, redundancies, or areas where things just aren't working as well as they could be.
Yeah, you're speaking my language. I'm all about streamlining things and making things easier for my team.
I thought you might be. So let's say you're an e-commerce business and you've noticed a lot more customer service inquiries lately.
Right.
It turns out your return process is overly complicated. Customers are getting frustrated. An internal audit could pinpoint exactly where the process is breaking down, help you streamline it, and then you're improving the whole customer experience.
So it's about making sure all the gears are turning smoothly, even behind the scenes.
Exactly.
Yeah, I could see how that would impact everything from customer satisfaction to our bottom line.
Exactly. And in today's competitive landscape, that kind of efficiency, it can really change the game.
All right, so we've got risk management, compliance, and efficiency. There's got to be more, right?
Oh, absolutely. And this next one is especially important in the digital age fraud prevention.
Okay, fraud prevention. Now, that's a topic that kind of makes my stomach clench a bit. I feel like I'm always hearing about these data breaches and cyber attacks and everything.
It's definitely a real concern, yeah, and it's only becoming more prevalent, but an internal audit, it can be like a safeguard. It helps
Okay.
detect any anomalies or red flags that could point to fraudulent activity in your business.
So like having a security system in place to
Exact.
protect my business from those threats.
Yeah,
Walk me through a scenario where this might come into play.
sure. Imagine you're running an online store and you notice some unusual activity in your transaction records.
Okay.
Maybe there's a spike in refunds or chargebacks. An internal audit could dig into the details and uncover patterns or inconsistencies that could mean fraudulent transactions.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. That's a little unsettling. But I can see how having those insights would be like really valuable. Catching those issues early could save a business a lot of heartache down the road.
Exactly. And it's not just about protecting your finances, it's about your reputation as well.
Oh, right.
A fraud scandal can really hurt customer trust. It can be hard to recover from that. Internal audits help you stay ahead of those threats, maintain that sense of integrity, which is so important.
Makes sense. So we've got risk management, compliance, operational efficiency, and fraud prevention. What else is there? Don't tell me there's more.
Well, we can't forget about investor confidence.
Right.
In a world where transparency is like key internal audits show that you're running your business responsibly.
Investors, the lifeblood of so many startups.
Exactly. And they're looking more and more for companies that prioritize good governance.
Okay.
And internal audits like tangible proof of that.
Mm.
It shows that you are committed to accountability and ethical practices.
So it's like a badge of honor,
You could say that.
showing potential investors that we've got our act together.
Yeah, it shows a level of maturity and professionalism that can be really attractive to investors.
Okay, you've sold me on the benefits. But now the million-dollar question. How does an entrepreneur like me actually do this?
Right.
We're not all running these huge companies with, like, whole departments dedicated to auditing.
And that's where things get interesting.
Okay, so before we, got sidetracked, we were talking about all the ways internal audits can help, entrepreneurs like us. But I gotta be honest, I'm still kind of stuck on the how.
Right.
It sounds great in theory, but I'm, like, picturing a whole team of accountants camped out in my office, for weeks.
Yeah. That's a pretty common misconception. You really don't need a huge budget or a dedicated team to get started with internal audits.
Phew. Okay, good. So then where do we begin?
The key is to start small and prioritize.
Okay.
Think about those areas in your business that are like super important to your operations or have the highest risks.
Okay, that makes sense. So for someone like me running an online business, my top priorities would probably be like financial transactions and cybersecurity. I need to make sure those systems are like rock solid.
Exactly. Or if you're in a really regulated industry like healthcare or finance, compliance processes would be at the top of the list. It's all about, focusing your efforts where they're going to have the most impact.
Right. So we've identified our key areas. Now what? Do I need to hire a whole team of experts?
Not necessarily. There are actually a few different approaches you can take, and the best fit really just depends on your budget, your internal resources, and how complex the audit is.
Okay, so let's break down those options. What are we looking at?
Well, for some entrepreneurs, it might make sense to build a small internal audit team.
Okay.
You could train some existing employees or even hire someone specifically to do auditing.
Right.
This gives you more control over the process, but it does mean you need to have that expertise in-house.
Okay, so that's option one. The in-house team. What if I'm not ready to commit to like a whole team yet?
Well, then bringing in an outside consultant could be a good choice.
Yeah.
This is especially useful if you need specific knowledge,
Yeah.
In a particular area, like, say, cybersecurity.
Yeah, I can see the appeal there. Cybersecurity is it's so complex. It's always changing. Having an expert come in and assess our, vulnerabilities would be really valuable.
Exactly. Plus, an outside consultant, they can provide a fresh perspective, a level of objectivity that can be harder to get with an internal team.
Okay, so we've got internal teams and external consultants.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a third option?
There is. And it's becoming more and more popular, which is technology.
Oh yeah, the robots are coming for us.
They might be. But there are all these automated tools now that can really help streamline the whole audit process.
Oh yeah, I've heard about these. They sound pretty futuristic.
They can be really powerful. These tools can analyze data, flag issues, even generate reports, all without you having to, lift a finger.
Wow, that sounds amazing.
Mhm.
Especially for, someone like me who's always like stretched for time.
Exactly. These tools can save you so much time and effort. They free you up to focus on the, bigger picture.
So there's really like a solution for every budget and every level of like tech savviness.
Absolutely. It's all about choosing the approach that fits your needs and your resources.
Okay, so we've figured out what our priorities are. We've picked our approach. What's the next step in this internal audit journey?
Well, no matter which way you go, the key is to make internal audits a regular part of, how your business runs.
So we're not just talking about a one-time thing.
Definitely not. Think of it like scheduling those, checkups with your doctor.
Right.
You wouldn't wait till you were really sick to get help.
Right, yeah. That's a great analogy. It's
Mhm.
about like prevention and early detection. So how often are we talking here?
Even just doing internal audits twice a year can make a big difference.
Yeah.
That consistency keeps you on top of those potential issues and helps you course correct, before the small problems turn into huge ones.
Okay, yeah. I'm starting to really see the value in this.
Right.
But here's another question that's been on my mind. What happens after the audit? Like we've identified the problems, now what?
That's where actionable insights come in.
Okay.
Internal audits aren't just about finding the problems, they're about finding the solutions. Every audit should lead to some kind of concrete improvement.
So it's about like taking those findings and turning them into positive change.
Exactly. Whether it's, updating a process, putting new controls in place, investing in training, the goal is to take those audit findings and turn them into real actions that make your business stronger.
It's like a continuous cycle.
Mm.
Assessment, action, improvement. I love it. But you know what would really like solidify all this for me? Some real life examples of how this has worked for other businesses.
Well, I happen to have a few inspiring success stories.
Okay, I'm all ears. Hit me with those success stories.
All right, so picture this small startup, right, like a year or two in, decides to go ahead and do their first internal audit.
Okay, I can already feel like the nervousness.
Oh, yeah.
It's their first time. They don't know what to expect.
Right, but they push through those nerves, and it turns out to be, like, the best decision they ever made.
Okay.
During the audit, they find this recurring error in their payment processing system.
Uh-oh.
It's small, like just a few cents off on each transaction.
Okay.
But it's been happening for months.
Ouch. Those tiny errors can really add up, especially for a new company, that's still getting off the ground.
Exactly. And since they caught it early through the audit, they're able to fix the system, get that lost money back, and avoid, like, a potential financial crisis later on.
That's amazing. Talk about a return on investment.
Right.
It's like they dodged a bullet they didn't even know was coming.
It really is. It's a perfect example of how an internal audit can be that safety net for businesses of all sizes.
Okay, give me another one. What other success stories you got?
Let's switch gears a bit and talk about cybersecurity.
Okay.
So imagine this online retailer that's growing really fast,
Yeah.
processing thousands of transactions every day. Customer data is flowing through their systems.
Okay, I'm already getting a little nervous for them. The more data you have, the bigger the target on your back, right?
You're telling me. So this company decides to be proactive, and they do an internal audit focusing on their cybersecurity practices.
Good idea.
They want to make sure their systems are secure, their customer data is safe.
Yet today's world, cybersecurity is not optional.
And it turns out that audit was like a total game changer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they find these vulnerabilities in their systems, weaknesses that a hacker could have easily taken advantage of. We're talking data breaches, stolen credit card info, the whole 9 yards.
Oh, wow. That's like the worst case scenario.
It is, but because they found those vulnerabilities ahead of time,
Right.
they were able to put stronger security measures in place, patch those holes, and avoid what could have been a really bad data breach.
So they basically stopped a disaster before it happened.
Oh.
That's got to be such a relief.
Exactly. And that's what internal audits can do. They help you see those risks and then deal with them before they become a big problem.
All right, one more success story. Give me one that really drives home the point.
Okay, this time let's talk about customer service.
Okay.
We've all been there. You order something online, it doesn't fit, and then you have to deal with this crazy complicated return process.
Ugh, don't even get me started. I once spent an hour on the phone just trying to return a pair of shoes.
We've all been there.
Yeah.
So picture this company that's getting tons of complaints about their return process.
Okay.
They're losing customers, getting bad reviews, and it's hurting their business.
Oof, yeah. I feel for them and their customers.
So they decide to do an internal audit, and they focus specifically on that customer journey from the second a purchase is made to when a return is processed.
Okay, I like it. They're thinking ahead.
And what they find is all these bottlenecks and things that are just making the process way too complex.
Right.
Like you've got multiple departments involved, paperwork's getting lost, communications breaking down. It's
Yes.
a mess.
Sounds like they found the root of the problem.
Exactly. And now that they have that information, they're able to streamline the whole thing. They make it easier to follow, improve communication between those different departments, and they even set up like a user-friendly online return portal.
So they went from a process that was super frustrating to something that's actually easy to use. I bet their customers were happy about that.
They were. Complaints went down, they got a ton of positive reviews, and the company saw much more customer loyalty.
Wow, those stories are really inspiring. It's amazing to see how these internal audits can make such a positive difference for businesses.
And the best part is it's not just for those huge companies. Internal audits are something every entrepreneur needs, like you said earlier. It's a survival skill in today's world.
Exactly. So for everyone listening who's been following along with us on this internal audit journey, I want to leave you with this thought.
Mm.
If these audits are like a health checkup for your business, how can you make them a regular thing to help you succeed in the long run?
That's a great question. And what part of your business could really use an internal audit right now? Think about it. It might be the best decision you ever make.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of internal audits. Until next time.